There is a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. You'll hear stories about this, so much more, right here on Supernatural Confrontations. Very interesting story today, and I just want to thank Steve for coming on the record. I think you'll find his testimony sort of riveting and lots of strange dynamics to it. We'll get into that, but first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Collagen is often referred to as our modern-day fountain of youth, and for a good reason. Our body loses its natural ability to produce collagen as we age. This is the reason why we see a visible decline in our skin, hair, and nails. Supplementing collagen can help reverse those visible signs of aging, but we have to make sure we're getting it from the right source. This multi-collagen uses a unique blend of the top 5 critically most important types of collagen our bodies need to help bring back the youthfulness into our skin, hair, and nails. Folks, mix it into the morning drink once a day. That's what I do. And watch as your body re-energizes and rejuvenates itself from the inside out, thanks to this powerful blend of collagen. If you've ever wondered how celebrities keep their skin, hair, and nails glowing, now you know. Folks, order it today to get a bundle of benefits like VIP health and fitness coaching for life and a new downloadable report called The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, completely free. Folks, please be sure to go to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com, or click the link below for more information. So I'm here with Steve Hare, and something happened to you way back in 1976, and I remember those days, but I'm just going to stop and let you tell the story. And then, because I've heard a little bit of it, when we get to the one part, and I won't do a spoiler alert here, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'll kind of go like this to give you a heads up on it. So tell us what happened, Steve, please.
Okay, absolutely. So this was, again, back in 1976. It was the dead of winter, very cold day after a couple days of snowfall. And I rented the top half of a house with a good friend of mine at that time, and we 3 of us who were renting this top half of this house in Bloomfield, Connecticut, worked at a seafood restaurant together. Anyway, no need for all those details. But in any case, my friend Rick had been working on a van to get it up and running, and customizing the inside of this van, and he got to where he needed to go get his insurance on it. So our roommate Mark, was going to give him a ride to go take care of all that, and so they'd asked me if I wanted to go along, and I really wasn't up to much, but I said, nah, go ahead, and so then they left, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me, I might as well go for a ride, because it was about a 45-minute drive to where they were going. So I grabbed my jacket, my winter coat, and ran down the stairs, and caught them just as they were backing out. So they stopped to let me in, and I jumped in next to my friend. So there was 3 of us in the front seat of this. I believe it was an old Plymouth. But anyway, the odd thing was that he asked me to get out. Mark said, wait a minute. And so Mark stopped the car. So it was Mark and Rick. Mark stopped the car, and he said, what? And I said, what? And he goes, get out. And he said, switch with me. I said, what do you mean switch? He goes, switch seats with me. I said, oh, okay. So again, to this day, I still have no clue why exactly he wanted to do that. But anyway, you'll see as the story goes on that it's really odd. But anyway, so we took off, and we were on this back S-curve road in rural Bloomfield, Connecticut, just outside of Hartford, about 20 minutes outside of Hartford. And so it was severely cold. It was about 10 below, probably not including wind chill, but it was
Well, that's
super cold.
Yeah, that's really cold.
And so anyway, we're driving down this road, and Mark he'd gotten up to 70 miles an hour, and it was crazy on the road that we were on, because we were like, what are you doing? And it was a dead of winter. We could clearly see black ice spots on the road. And so we kept, telling him to slow down. We're like, Mark, slow down. You really need to slow down. And he just, oh man, it's cool. I got it. No problem. And I remember my friend Rick said, Mark, he said, I'm never going to get in a car with you again. And I said, me either, and it was just not even moments after that he completely lost control, meaning that no matter what he did with the wheel, the car just kept going straight. So we were apparently hydroplaning. And so we ended up, the road curved a little bit to the right, and we ended up in an oncoming traffic lane with a few cars up ahead of us, so we were not wanting to stay there. But anyway, but the road kept doing this number for a little bit, and then it just, all this I'm sure only took place in a space of seconds,
Sure.
But it seemed like it was taking a while. But in any case, the road took a left. It was an S curve, and so we went over a snow embankment, narrowly missing some trees, and we were rapidly moving across a pasture toward a farmhouse, and there was huge trees on this property, and we were they were whizzing by us, and as I explained to you before, LA, it was just like everything just went slow-mo. I mean, just like everything just seemed to go very slow motion. And I remember seeing this huge tree, a good 6 to 8 feet across at the base, coming up, and it was on the right side of this small farmhouse. And I grabbed the driver, Mark, by the shoulder, and I said, don't hit that tree. And after that, it was lights out. So
I'm going to stop you right there.
I don't know how long. Please.
Let me just stop you right there. So, I mean, the car when it goes off the road and it's in the pasture, how many seconds go by? How far do you think you traveled? Is it downhill? Is it level? Is it uphill? What's that terrain look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was actually slightly downhill.
Okay.
In other words, from the road through, over that snow embankment, and it was slightly downhill. And then we just kept on picking up speed, as we're going. So I can't imagine it took more than just a few seconds to cross.
Was there
land,
snow in the pasture? I'm assuming.
Speed.
Was there snow?
Yeah.
Snow in the pasture.
Yeah.
How deep was the snow?
I wouldn't say more than maybe 2-3 inches.
Okay.
It wasn't a deep snow.
Okay.
Because you could still see field grass and weeds and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're going down at 60 miles an hour anyway, which is way too fast in a pasture, 60, 70 miles an hour. Huge tree in front of you. Pick up the story. What happens?
The next thing I know, I'm coming to, and the car is demolished. Of course, now I'm trying to kind of take all this in. So I'm sure moment to moment I wasn't realizing fully what was happening with the car. That wasn't really the focus. My focus was on my friend, Rick, and the car roof had curled down and caught him in the forehead. Now, the strange thing is, as I said before, we were heading head on at this tree. And the position of the car when we hit the tree was sideways. So now I don't have too many explanations. My explanation would be Mark had put cinder blocks in the trunk of the car. I think he did that for traction. And so it's possible, naturally speaking, that the cinder blocks shifted somehow, causing the car to turn sideways to hit the tree. I don't know. Or if we maybe hit a bump or something, and maybe, I don't know. But in any case, thank God, with no seatbelts on, that we didn't hit a head on, because I wouldn't be here probably to tell the tale, right? But in any case, so Rick's hand, his arm was up across his face, and I was sitting between him and the driver. And so all I could see of Rick was just his side of his arm, and then his chin, and there was blood running down his face onto his coat. And I remember I grabbed the sleeve of his coat, pulled on his elbow, kind of that area, and his hand slid out of the glove. Now, his glove was still between the car and the tree, and his hand just slipped right out of it. And it turns out, there was nothing wrong with his hand. But in any case, he was unconscious. Mark was climbing out the driver's side window. He was holding his shoulder when I climbed out after him. And he, turns out later, I'll just tell that now, he had a dislocated shoulder. Anyway, the impact, from us stopping suddenly at 70 miles an hour, the driver's shoulder caught me behind my left shoulder, and, my friend Rick, his shoulder caught me the other way. So I had what they called contusion of the chest for years. So anyway, but at the point where I climbed out the window, I stepped over in front of the car. And this is back in the 70s. I had really long hair back then, long, thick hair. And I had glass everywhere. There was glass in my hair, in my shoes, in my clothes. And I had glass in my teeth. And I remember I was grinding glass, trying to get it out of my mouth. And I was spitting out a little bit of blood and glass. And I was about maybe 5 feet or so in front of the car. And all of a sudden, I became aware that these two young women stepped toward me. Both of them had long blonde hair. They were wearing jeans and sweaters. My recollection is that they had clear blue eyes. And I don't know how I would remember that detail after all these years. It came to me at some point. I tried to imagine what they looked like, so, I don't know what that means at all. But that's my basic recollection. One of them said, are you okay? I said, I don't know. The other one said, don't worry, everything is going to be all right. And so at that point, I heard the screeching of tires up on the road. A car slid to a stop. A man wearing a black coat that was open, and he had a white shirt underneath that. He had a black medical bag, and he came running down across the pasture. And as he approached the car, I took a step toward the car, the driver's side door. And he said, step back, please. And I said, my friend's in there. And he goes, please step back. And so he was able somehow to open the door. Didn't seem to have a lot of trouble with it. But he got in, and then I turned to face the girls, and the girls were gone.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. So the time where the guy gets out of the car with a medical bag, and he comes running to you, what are we looking at? 15, 20, 30 seconds? What is it?
I'd probably say maybe 10, 15 seconds.
Okay, so that's really quick.
It was a distance down across from the road.
Okay.
But again, I don't know how good my perception of time was, while this was going on. But I do remember it took him a minute to get down there.
Okay,
but,
so let me.
he had my full attention.
Okay, I need to draw this out a little bit if I can. Hold on.
Yep.
So let's say
Sure.
here's the tree. Of course, my pen doesn't work when I need it to, so what else is new? There we go. So here's the tree. Here's the car.
I know.
Okay, here's you. I'm going to put an X or a star. So this is what I have. So here's the tree. There's the car. There's you. Mm-hmm. Where's the farmhouse in relationship to this scene?
Okay. Yeah. So that's the tree. It's to that way. It's my left, your right.
Okay. How far is the farmhouse?
It's only maybe 30, 40 feet.
Okay.
To the left and behind that tree.
Okay. Is there a fence separating the house from the pasture?
No.
Okay. The two girls that are there, long blonde hair, did you happen to notice when you turned and you left, that was like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, let's say 20 seconds. Was there any place for them to vanish to?
No.
Okay. Did
No,
you see any
absolutely
footprints?
not. No.
Did you see any footprints?
No. I mean, and I'm sure I didn't focus on that if there were. But I was really taken aback that they were not there, because there was too many things that were very odd about it. Number one, they weren't upset at all at the sight of this horrific wreck. They were both absolutely calm, unaffected. There was a kindness about them. Obviously, they were concerned, are you okay? But they were completely at peace, which if I would have featured them to be roughly around my age, I don't know. But normally I would think young ladies, if they'd seen a wreck of this magnitude, probably would have been a little bit excited, at the very least.
I think
and
everybody
the
would
person,
be. Anybody would have been.
You're right. Anybody. And trying to, hey, can I help you? Or, whatever. But there was none of that. They were just, everything's going to be all right. Well, also, you would have thought they would have maybe approached this paramedic or whoever he was.
Did you ever find out who the doctor was or who the guy with the medical bag was?
No. Wow. No idea.
No idea. So so the ambulance comes up. How does the guy with the bag leave the scene, or don't you know? Don't you remember?
No, I actually don't. Because once the girls disappeared and I was no longer aware, I just knew that they weren't there. And then I turned to Mark, and he was leaning on the back quarter panel holding his right shoulder. And I said, Mark, what happened to the girls? Or I said, where did the girls go? And he said, what girls? And so it was apparent he never saw them. And he was only, 10 feet from me.
He would obviously would have seen them. Right. No way.
Yeah, there's nowhere they could have gone in that space of time. And why would they have left within 10 seconds, or 20 seconds or 30 seconds? It doesn't make sense. And so after, probably 10,000 times of thinking through this over the last 40 plus years, I came to only one conclusion, that these were definitely angels. The only thing I see biblically is that, I've never seen in the Bible anywhere that there's female angels, but I don't know how to answer for that. But I don't know of any other explanation, I'm amazed at the grace of God in preserving me through that. I've been in Medicare insurance now for many, many years, for 9.5 years. And I talk to clients who've gotten in wrecks at far lower speeds than that, and their lives have been destroyed by it.
Oh yeah.
And my heart goes out to anybody, they're permanent damage to their back, their brains, you name it, and all that could have been very present with any of the three of us, even if we lived through it, what I'm saying? So I'm very grateful for God sparing my life. And I've thought many times, and I believe it's Hebrews 1:14, and it talks about that there are ministering spirits for those who will inherit salvation. And one of the passages that has also stood out to me over many years, it came to me many years after that happened, because I wasn't a Christian by any stretch of the imagination, and there was a number of other encounters that I had with the Lord that led up to my salvation after that. I thought of Psalm 68:20. It says, our God is the God of salvation, and to God the Lord belong escapes from death.
Wow.
And so when I hear people say, boy, I got in this wreck and you never would have believed, man, I can't even believe I was so lucky to get out of that. And I was like, no, you weren't lucky. Every escape from death belongs to the Lord. He owns them,
Steve, let me ask you something. Did you ever go back to the farmhouse?
No.
Never did?
Nope.
Wow.
No.
How close
No,
are you?
in fact, I think I actually shelved that whole event. I think at some level, again, I was a lost guy. I had no clue about the Lord at all,
Where
and I think
are
that
you,
was such a...
Where are you now in relationship to the farmhouse?
You talking about like now?
Now. Right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, so you're a million miles away.
It's a long way from that farmhouse.
Yeah. It'd just be very interesting to go back and see and rule out the natural explanation. No, there was never two women here with long blonde hair and deep blue eyes. And I get the female.
I actually tried to look up newspapers. I tried to look up newspapers, to see if there was any, what they call that microfiche or something from the past that would, have some record of that wreck. But I never found anything. And one of the really freakish things was after I could finally work again, it took me about 2-3 weeks to recover. It felt like all my bones, and like my collarbones especially, and my ribs and chest felt like they were broken, but they weren't. I didn't have one broken bone. The doctors told me I had what they call contusion of the chest, whatever that means. It was just the impact at 70 miles an hour. I worked at that restaurant, and so I really couldn't pick up even a bus pan of dishes or do anything. I was a salad chef, and I couldn't work for quite a while. But anyway, I went to the gas station where they towed the car to, and it was literally chilling, shocking to see the car because you couldn't fit one person in the front seat of that car. And
wow. Yeah, I mean, let me drill back into the into the two women. So there's really no place for them to go. You only take your eyes off them for 10 seconds. You're the only person who sees them. I get it. There's no female angels, but this is where and a lot of people will have trouble with this, and I understand that. I'm just but like you, I'm groping for answers too. I don't have all the answers. We know that the enemy can appear as an angel of light. That's what the enemy can do. So that's Menace Absolutely. He's able to change. But we also know from Paul that some of us have entertained angels unawares. So the question is, can they appear as females if they want to? And I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I don't. But I would lean towards that in hearing your case and your testimony.
Sure.
The natural explanation would be this. Well, you're semi-conscious. You're going in and out. You're not sure what's going on. These are the girls that are in the farmhouse. They've come out to help. But, okay, we can go down that road. But then none of the other people that are there see them. And you're the only person.
That's the other thing, too, is my I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
But, yeah, the farmhouse, to my knowledge, was abandoned. So it didn't
okay. You didn't say that before. Okay. All right.
No, I didn't know. But there was no cars there. There was no evidence of anyone there. It was very old. So I don't think it was occupied.
Okay. So if the farmhouse isn't occupied, these two women, let me ask you, how tall were they? Were they just average height?
Just average height.
What did the clothes look like? I want you to really...
They were tall. They were tall in the respect as, I would say for women, they weren't short. So they were average height to tall for young ladies. They were, average build, they were, thin. And like I said, just long blonde hair. The clothing, they were definitely wearing blue jeans. I remember that. And the sweaters they were wearing seemed to be of a light bluish color, if I remember right. Again, they could have been a different color, but I didn't focus on that. It was just their presence was what I was, taken by. That number one, they stepped toward me out of nowhere. It's not like they came from a car. They didn't come from the road. All of a sudden, they were in front of me, and so. It was all very odd, and for them to disappear just as quickly as they appeared was really odd. And like I said, and my mind was trying to catch up with this whole event when I'm in pain, I'm in shock, I'm spitting out glass and blood. It's a lot to take in.
Let me throw something at you here. So, you hit the thing, hits the tree, the car hits the tree, and I'm assuming everybody basically blacks out for a second. Is it possible?
Oh yeah.
That these women maybe were involved in the crash on some level, in buffering it. I mean, you know, who knows what they did.
Yeah,
the fact
right.
the fact that they look at you.
It had to be. It had to
Well,
be.
I agree.
I mean, if any car that hits a tree at 70 miles
Yeah,
an hour.
But here's the deal. They
Yeah.
look at you and they go, "Are you okay? It's going to be all right." Now, why would they make a statement like that? I mean, that's right. I mean, oh, it's going to be all right. Well, how do they know that? They don't know that. So as far as we know, I mean, Rick is in the car. These two girls are there. He could be dead. You know, so for them,
Right. Yeah.
they're not concerned about him. They're just telling you it's going to be okay. And then you kind of turn and you see this weird guy come out of the car with a medical bag, and he tells you to get out of the way. And you look back, 10, 15 seconds later, they're gone. You know, I would lean towards angelic encounter. That's what I think it was. And they were there.
Absolutely.
They may have buffered the car in some way. That's my take on it.
Yep.
I'll give you the last word, and thanks so much for coming on.
The heirs of salvation.
Yeah,
Right?
there you go.
Yeah.
I'll give you the last word.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would just say I hope that you know, the viewers and listeners of this, you know, would take encouragement. You know that you know we live in uncertain times. You know, and anything can happen, and life is very, very fragile.
Boy, is that true.
You know, and the Lord is the giver of all life and breath. You know, and you know, He preserved my life for His purposes. And I didn't know the Lord at that time in my life, but it wasn't very long after that, a year later, you know, the Lord intervened in my life in a powerful way when I was hitchhiking from Miami, Florida, back to Connecticut. And that's another big story. But in any case, that encounter at that time changed my entire worldview, because I wasn't raised in a Christian home. I was clueless about God. I didn't know about Jesus. I didn't know about salvation. You think, you know, with a church on every corner, that everybody, you know, has heard about Jesus and knows it. You know, I had a couple weird encounters with some religious people, but that was about it. You know, so I'm just thankful for the Lord's intervention in my life. And, you know, I would encourage anyone who's hearing this, you know, commit your life to the Lord, because our moments aren't guaranteed.
Amen.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steve, for coming on the record. Really appreciate it. It was a great testimony, and I'm chalking that one up to an angelic encounter for sure. Folks, by the way, we will be in Missouri June 9th and 10th, speaking at the Calvary Church there. I'm sure it's coming up on the screen. We are also looking for a sound man to become part of our production team. What I mean by that, when we go out in the field, we need someone to run the sound. So if that's you, if you know how to run sound, we're looking at wireless microphones. There's a harness that goes around the sound guy. He needs to set up the wireless mics, make sure the sound is good. Also that we have a boom on a pole. So if you're a sound guy, you know what I'm talking about. Harness, boom on a pole, 2 lav mics, and we need someone to run sound. So if that's you, please shoot me an email, lamarzulliprivate@gmail.com, lamarzulliprivate@gmail.com. Go to our streaming site, streaming.lamarzulli.net. All sorts of good stuff there. The crop circle video is out. You can check that out along with all of our UFO videos. Anyway, folks, we'll be back again with another Supernatural Confrontation. Thanks again, Steve, for coming on the record. Appreciate it.
Thank you, L.A. I appreciate you having me and really enjoy your show.
Thank you, sir. Folks, remember, there is a supernatural world that surrounds us, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. Thanks so much for watching.